Hello everyone, I'm Rich Salmon. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. I know it's been a while since I've had anything up. I'm sorry, but I came down with COVID and been trying to kind of get over that. Kind of think I'm ready to get back into the swing of things. So I've got what I would call a confidence fly that I'm going to do. I'm going to tie a purple Emporer today. This is a fly out of Kelson's book. And today I'm going to tie this on a Cosmo Rhea handmade hook. It's a really beautiful hook. This one was gifted to me by Dave, goes by Smicker Flies. So Dave, thank you very much. Hopefully I'm able to do this hook some justice. Now, as always, we make sure that always protect the hook in the vise. So having that little bit of plastic there will help protect that Japanning finish on there. And with this hook, I definitely want to protect it. So we've got that on there. It seems nice and sturdy. We're going to use Garden 74 denier. Now this one is not going to get an underbody. The body on this is a floss body, or excuse me, a tinsel body. So I will do the whole, I'm going to do a what they call a full gut on this one. This is a silk gut substitute. I'm using horsehair for this one. If you haven't seen my video on that, I'll leave a link in the description on how to make these from horsehair. It's a relatively simple process, and horsehair is actually quite simple to get a hold of. Okay, so what we're going to do is once we tie that in, and you've got that at a nice comfortable spot, the size of the eye is good. We'll take that and we'll wrap that all the way back. When we start getting towards the rear, we're going to take our scissors and cut parallel to the hook, or as parallel as you can get. And what that's going to do is just kind of help taper this right here a little. I'm going to wrap that back just a little bit more. Okay, I like that. I am going to do a quick layer of underbody material just to kind of smooth some things out a little bit, cover up any gaps. It'll make the body a little on the thick side, which I kind of like. But right here, I want to make sure that I've got a decent taper. And that to me right there is perfect. So I can take this back up to the front. And we'll just finish that right off. To hold that in place, I'm just going to throw a very small dab of Sally Hansen's. And what that'll do is that'll soak in a little bit also. And that'll kind of help keep everything right up front from slipping or moving. And it'll prevent that from unraveling on you. The tip and tag are yellow or silver twist and some yellow silk. So for the twist, I'm actually using a Uni-French medium twist. But if you actually don't like the medium and you don't have small, it's 3 strands in the medium there, as you can see. And you can actually untwist that and have 3 strands of some nice extra fine twist. I guess that makes it more of a fine oval than a twist, but I'll just, come on now. Tie that into place. I almost feel like that's too far back. Okay. So I'm just going to bring this forward just a hair. I want my butt to be about here. So if you have your butt there, that's going to leave quite a large tag on there. I don't want to have such a large tag. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is wrap this forward, leaving this tinsel on here. As I wrap forward, and what that'll do is give me a nice flat, even base underneath the floss that I'm going to lay down. Now I did use black thread. I don't have white 74 denier at the moment. I still have yet to order some. So for the floss, I'm going to use the Ovale from 54 Dean Street. This stuff's a little bit thicker, and it'll hide that black quite well. Now, if you saw my previous videos, I had gotten a set of silk gloves. Well, those gloves were not really great. And got another set of silk gloves here that seem to be much, much finer, much better. As you can see, these are a little bit more form-fitting, and they even feel much different. So I'm going to give these a shot. Though I feel they're going to be just as slippery as the previous pair. But that's okay. If they're slippery, that means that there's nothing gripping the floss. That's almost too fat now. Okay, I'm not liking that. See, the thing about this floss is it is a little on the thick side. And that does give you a nice thick layer, but in some cases it's also too thick. So, what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to thin it out a little bit and split it. So to split it, as you can see, it's multiple strands. So I'm just going to take out 2 of the strands. There we are. That should thin out a little bit nicer and give us just what we want. There we are. Yes, I do like these gloves quite a lot. Much better than the others. I'll see if I can get the link for them for you. These were a gift for my birthday a couple days ago. I'll find the link and get that into the description for you guys. Alright. Now, I'm just going to do a soft burnish on it. Nice and gentle and easy. There we go. Okay, for the tail is married sections of summer duck, Tarraco, which I do not have, so I'll be using red turkey instead, and some powdered blue macaw, which I don't have. I do, but they're a matched pair, and I'd really like to not cut those up, so I'm going to use some macaw, blue and gold macaw tail instead. Down towards the base of the feathers, they're a little bit on the thinner side, and they're perfect for using for this sort of thing. Okay, I'm back with the tail. Now if this tail looks a little different, it's because it is. I already tied one in, and that one collapsed on me. And when these collapse, they really do a number, and everything just kind of goes. That's it. You kind of get, it's almost like you get one shot with these because of the way they're tied, or the way they're married. And they don't have the rackuses on here to protect the wood duck, so when these collapse, they have a tendency to fully collapse, and the strands get out of sorts. And once they get out of sorts with wood duck, it's I'm sure most of you know, it's quite difficult to get them all back into exact shape. So I opted to just get a whole new tail made up. Alright, so we're going to set this on here like this. Get it the length that you want it, which is about just past the bend of the hook. Line them up just right. And then I'm going to help this collapse it. I'm going to help push it down just a little. And then I'm going to twist this counterclockwise. And that's going to help, when I wrap it, it'll help loop it up against my fingers, which will then help keep it where I want it. And then just let the weight of the bobbin gently pull down on it. Don't lose your tension on your fingers. Keep those as tight as you can. And then use this side to just kind of position it on top of the hook. If you loosen your fingers at all on the left, you will wind up with a collapse. So you want to make sure you don't loosen up at all. Go for a second wrap. I'm not sure if you can see right here on the back side, that's part of the other wing that's collapsed on the tie-in side, on the body side. So I'm hoping that that has not collapsed on the tail side. Alright, and here's where we find out. That is, oh, that's the top of the other side, so that's no good. So we're going to go back and pinch that tightly again. Remove the thread. Hopefully be able to remove the material. And now all I'm going to do is just try to reposition these a little bit. I still have not loosened up on the left side. That has not moved. Everything I'm doing now is all just right here on the right. Trying to keep everything married and keep everything in line. Alright, so again, we'll let the bobbin hang. Let the bobbin, the weight of the bobbins, pull that down to the hook. Spin it counterclockwise. Do one more loop. And then we'll let go and see. Nope, we still had that same collapse again on the other side. I need to get that back up above here somehow. I went through this once before, and there's wax on my thread now. And that wax is kind of interfering. That's better. Alright, I think I'm going to leave that. Okay. Alright, so there's a light drop of Sally Hansen's, and I think it went too far. Yep, it's soaked into the tail. So we can wipe some of that away. I don't care if I get it on the front side, I just don't want it getting into that silk. Alright, I'm going to let that dry, and I'll be back and we'll take this further. Alright, we've had a minute for that to dry. I'm going to take a razor blade right here, very gently cut away all this excess here. You don't want to pull on any of the excess strands, because if they aren't cut through, you can still wind up cutting those or pulling those through from the tail. Okay. Now we'll take our ostrich hurl. We'll strip away a little bit from right here. And when you tie this in, you want to make sure that the flat, shiny quill part is facing forward and the fuzzier part is facing the rear of the fly. And then when you wrap them, make sure they're touching turns. And try to get the fuzzy part to overlap on the shinier quill part as you wrap. and that'll help you get a nice, even, full looking pearl butt. Trim that away. Now the ribbing on this is gold tinsel, so we're going to tie that in first. And I'm using a large Vivus gold oval tinsel. And what we do is we strip away this outer sheathing here, and that exposes this silk core. That silk core is nice and soft. That'll prevent any buildup of bulk on the body of the fly. And when you tie in your ribbing, you want to tie it in at around the 5 o'clock position on the hook shank. What that does is that hides the tie-in point. That way it's not seen when you start wrapping. The hackle is in the book it calls for kakabandu, which unfortunately I don't have any, so I'm going to substitute with a badger. Now I've already selected a badger feather. Now the hackle, as usual, you want it to wrap on the back side of the tinsel. So to accomplish that, you want to tie it in on the front side. And you'll see why that is in just a moment. A couple wraps to get that. And then we'll tuck this into place so that way it's right up against that tinsel. Right there. And then we can just drape this back as well. Get that up out of the way. The body tinsel is going to be silver medium Vivus. So that's this one, FT3. And this one we're not going to strip. We're actually going to tie this one in the full length of the hook. So we'll just loop that in. And I'm actually going to tie this in on the back side, probably at around the, I don't know, 3 o'clock-ish position. Maybe 4, and that'll be right on the other side of the gold, just so it's not seen. And we're going to do the full length of this fly. Since this tinsel is going to go all the way to the front, well, most of the way to the front, it's going to go about 3/4. We'll wrap that up. And then we'll go through and we will just start wrapping our body, touching turns the whole way back. Just making sure not to trap any of that hackle underneath it. And then we'll tie off our tinsel here with about a third of the fly to go, and that third of the fly we will make some purple dubbing. So for the purple dubbing, we're going to use seal's fur. I'll leave a link in the description for the where to find some purple seal's fur. I usually get mine from feathersmc.com. John's got tons of different colors. So we'll just lightly wax the thread. And go ahead and start twisting on our dubbing. That should be about right. Now we will bring the gold tinsel around. I think 5 turns of tinsel is sufficient for this fly. Oh. Something to remember though when you're using these types of tinsels, have a junk pair of scissors that you like to use. Try not to use your good scissors. These are made of metal and they'll destroy any good pair of scissors that you have. Not immediately, but it certainly will destroy them over time. Okay, now when you tied in your hackle on the front side of the tinsel, it winds up wrapping on the back side when you actually wrap it. Then you can just palmer that back. And that ends right at the throat. It's a little bit short for how I tie it usually. I don't mean the hackle is short, I mean the feather is falling short of the throat, but actually back here the hackle is a little on the long side. Though I do kind of like it, but there's no taper, and unfortunately I don't have much that has a taper to it. So I have to make do with what I've got, but I think it still looks rather nice. Alright, now the throat calls for hen pheasant dyed yellow, and I don't have hen pheasant. I do have a regular hen cape, but I think I'm going to go and use a schlap and hackle because it is a little bit webbier, and it's also a little bit thicker. And I think I like that thick webbiness, if that's a word. We'll just take a couple feathers here and we'll size it up. That's too long. For this instance, you don't necessarily need something that's got a taper to it. For this one, you just need something that's long enough for the throat. That'll do nicely. What I've done is I've stripped away some of the racket here so I can tie it in. And we'll wrap this and palmer it at the same time, folding it. Okay. Now we need to take that and fold that down. And we'll turn this into a throat. So we'll just take this and split it at the top. You can use your dubbing needle if you want to part this and then fold it down. And I'm going to come back over it for a minute and pull it a little tight, and that'll kind of help set those in place, and then I'll pinch them nice and nice and tight, and then we'll unwrap it. There's always going to be a few on top here. These here you can kind of pull out of the way, and then these here pull out of the way as well. Just a few, don't pull too many. Just enough to make room for the underwing. Okay, so now the underwing is made from jungle cock. So we'll pick a couple of jungle cock eyes. That looks like a good one. And let's find a matching pair. I'm going to find ones that are the same shape and color. Here we are. Good looking pair. Now when lining these up, I kind of like to line up the middle black bar right here over the top of the butt. However, you don't really have to. That's just kind of like my personal thing. But I always think that, you know, using the butt for a guideline it's not a bad way to get proportions and you know, get some things the right way. Now along the body side, we'll strip a little bit extra, and that'll help it lay down a little bit better. And you should be able to look right down the center of the fly from the top. Looks good. And it's a bit long, so I'm actually going to shorten this a little bit more. You can always shorten, you can never lengthen. Once you've stripped off material, that's it. It's better to have too much than make an oops and not have enough. The other thing you can do is when you see it popping up like that, You can make a little bend here in the stem. Make what's called like a little Z bend. See that? And that'll help. And that'll help orient the wing. Orient. I think you guys know what I'm trying to say. It'll make it sit a little bit better. And when you put your main wing on, that should push down on this just a bit. But if you're not happy with that, you could always just make a couple little extra bends in there. And you can also build up a little bit more right here, giving yourself a bit more of a platform to tie in on. That also helps the wing as well, having a little bit more of a platform. See, there we go. Oh no. And of course, remember to be gentle when moving around the fly. That's better. Okay, I'm happier with that. Now the wing is golden pheasant tail and yellow swan, which I'm just going to use I'm going to use Amgold tail, which for some of you may not be familiar with Amgold. It's a cross between Amherst and Golden. So this is an Amgold tail. It's a bit more marbled. It's a bit lighter in color from a golden pheasant, and it's really got a terrific color to it. It's quite nice to work with. So I'm going to go and pull the wings off of that, and I'll be back with you shortly. Okay, so now I've got the wing, and what I'm going to do here is first just make sure that I've got everything set here. I'm going to wind back just a couple more wraps back towards the body, just enough that I can remove these from the underwing. Now I'm going to take my wings, which I've married the turkey and Amgold. And I'm going to split them just enough to get that jungle cock to sit in between the two. And I want to line my wing up That way the tip of the wing comes over just over the tail. And then we're going to hold that in place. Press that down up front here. Let the weight of the bobbin pull down the first wrap. Apply the second. And add pressure with each additional wrap. That's too big and that's too long. So what I'm going to do is remove a little bit of this gold off of here. I had a feeling the wing was going to be a little on the big side. Nothing wrong with a big, beautiful wing, but sometimes too big of a wing creates issues. Okay. Well, try for number 2. Yeah, that looks better. Here, we'll do the same thing. The issue I'm having right now is these hackle fibers here are actually pushing on the underwing. There we go. That's how we want the wing to sit, but the underwing's getting pushed up in. So I'm actually going to have to pull it all back off and remove some of those hackle fibers. This is why it's important to clear some of the hackle fibers away from the fly. You'll notice that sometimes I do that by plucking some out of the way. This is why. Especially on flies like this where you've got an underwing that's made of jungle cock. It gets pushed up very easily. And that's not something we want. We want that jungle cock to show nicely. You don't need to pull many out of the way. Just enough that they clear kind of a laneway. going to trim down some of this seal's fur. Okay. Now let's see the difference that made. There we go, look at that. So going back down on top. We are much better. And now the cheeks for this are the same Tarraco, which in this case again I'll use red turkey, and then some teal. Calls for widgeon or mallard, but I really do like the way teal looks, so I'm going to use the teal instead. Just need to find some red turkey here. Just a few strips. I think I'm going to do 4 on each side. And then we'll marry that with a little bit of teal. If you're not paying attention, you can certainly mess up your teal just a little bit, just the way you would with wood duck. I just about did that. Take that and lay that on here. And then we just have our topping. Alright, so I'm going to put a drop of head cement in there just to set that in place and hold it. Very, very small amount. Now for this part, these when I use a drop of head cement on these, I'm using Wapsi head cement. The vineyards or vineyards, I'm not sure how it's really pronounced. I guess it depends on where you live. But that has a tendency to be very thin, which I do like to a certain degree, but that leaches down through the material a bit too much. So the Wapsi is a little on the thicker side. It does leach in well, and it does set up rather nicely and not too terribly hard. Sometimes if they form too hard, you wind up with a large head, and that can be problematic towards the end. Now, I'm going to switch out and get a brand new blade. And I'm going to work on clearing away the butt ends from the head. That way I can fit the topping on. I'm going to pinch down on the wing very gently. That'll hold everything in place. And then with a brand new blade, you really want to be careful. Just very gently rock it back and forth like this. And that'll help get the work the blade down through the material without putting too much pressure on it. Okay. Everything's still sitting good. Now I've gone ahead and already pre-shaped the topping for the most part. And you want the topping for this to take the shape of the wing. You don't want it to be actually going to build up a little bit. I've got a nice small head started. But you don't want the topping to be too long, and you don't want it to be above the wing or too high up. You want it to kind of ride right along the top of the wing. See if I've got this the right size. I think that might be a hair too long. Just a hair. And if your wing wants to roll around, it's going to give you a little fits. You can take a pair of flat-nosed pliers and very gently flatten out the tie-in point. Just a pair of flat nose like this. There's no ridges on the inside or anything. And that'll flatten that out and make it so it doesn't roll when you go to tie it in. You see how that takes the shape of the wing? That's what we want. And if we have to do a little bit more manipulating. After all, that is what we are, right? Feather manipulators. Come on now. I'm going to add a small amount of wax to it. I think that might help keep it from moving around so much. Sometimes you tie a topping on, it goes right on. Sometimes it doesn't. Okay, most of the time it doesn't. My wing seems to have twisted a little. Just a little. Okay. There we are. I am happy with that. I am happy with that. Okay, just going to add a drop of head cement to this, let that sit, and then we'll build up the head. Okay, so I've got everything all set here. That head cement has set up rather nicely. We're still going to hold the wing, clip that off. Alright, it looks like the topping shifted just a little bit still. There we are. Now we can go ahead and cut the thread. The head cement that we put on top will hold that thread in place. And now we can use our thread zapper here. And we're just going to burn off any excess material that might be around where the head's going to be. Extra careful around the head, around the eye, especially since the eye is made of horsehair. Horsehair, monofilament, anything that the eye is made of really is going to be quite easy to damage with a cauterizing pen. So now the next thing, one way to build a head is using wax on your thread, or you can do a little bit of wax onto a dubbing needle, which is what I'm going to do here. So you take your cobbler's wax and you just get a little bit of it on your dubbing needle. It's actually quite a bit. And then use a lighter to get it almost liquefied. I'm going to take that and just slowly apply that around the head. It may start to harden up a little bit on the needle. That's okay, just use your lighter. Go ahead and hit that again. It doesn't take much, just a quick little flick of a flame. If you're not confident enough with your needle, that's okay too. Just make sure that you put the wax on your thread instead. Now, as you can see, that's pretty lumpy and not a very nice looking head. So then what we'll do here is just take the needle and heat that up with the lighter. And then just touch the needle to the wax. And that'll melt that right down, giving you the opportunity to get it into place. Just as anything with the rest of the fly, take your time with it. No need to rush. I know some people get a little excited and they get over antsy right here at the end of the fly. They're so close to being done, they want to have it finished. Don't jump the gun. You can ruin a good fly by having a bad lumpy head. I'm actually just going to grab a little bit more wax. This is where a magnifier comes into play really well. Alright, now that's about formed. So now while it's a little on the soft side, you can use your fingernail and shape it the rest of the way. Now, to give it that nice black coating, there's two things you can use. You can use vineyards, which is this here. But this has a tendency to be very, very thin. And if you get it on the horsehair, it leaches through horsehair, something terrible. So I'm going to use some Wapsi instead. This is just a regular black varnish. Wapsi's a little bit thicker, doesn't leach in so bad. But it does set up rather quick. Oh, and careful doing that. You don't want to hit your hackle or the head, or excuse me, the eye. Alright, I'll do another coat after the video, but that completes our fly. This is Kelson's Purple Emperor. It's kind of my bread and butter, one of my favorite flies to tie. I love the colors, I love the pattern itself. Give it a try. It's really not a terribly difficult fly. I think the hardest part is getting the tail just right, and the wing. I mean, the wing isn't really all that terrible as it is. If you can find yourself some am gold, I highly recommend it. It's a really wonderful material to play with. It marries very, very well, and it holds together really well. So, if you liked the video, if you enjoyed that, give it a thumbs up. You know, I appreciate any feedback that you guys give me. I love hearing your comments, or reading your comments, I should say. It's really wonderful that you guys reach out to me, and I want to thank you all for the kind words as I was getting over COVID and everything. That meant a lot to me. If you're new to the channel, you haven't subscribed yet, think about subscribing. I'm going to have new stuff all the time. I'll have new flies. I'll have new content as far as, you know, materials and different things to work with, different tips and techniques. So also, if you got any questions, feel free to ask. I'm happy to get to them. I'm usually pretty quick about answering. And, you know, if there's a video you'd like to see, let me know. A few more coming up soon. I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year as well. I'm going to try to get another one out before the New Year. But, you know, we've got family and everything, so that might be a little bit difficult. But I will try. If I don't, have a Happy New Year. And I'll see you in 2023.